Hello, welcome back to Everard Junction. Bonus video for you this week, but before we get started I will address a long-standing viewer request. The request comes from the Steam enthusiasts, and you want to see a steam train run on the layout. The diesels are too boring. Well, I totally understand. Something quite impressive about a steam engine. So here you are, a steam engine running on Everard Junction. Well, I've got to stop it there. We're getting caught up in the nostalgia of Steam. Everything went black and white and that music was awful. Anyway, let's get on to the subject of today's video. Today's video is going to be focusing on storage of tools and various bits and pieces that inevitably build up as you start working on a layout. Now, traditionally, what I've always done is, as I have worked my way around the layout with the scenery, I've just dumped all my tools and bits and pieces onto the baseboards. But as you can see, I am using the open frame technique. And with the open frame technique, the sort of cheat way of storing all your stuff doesn't work very well. So to try and stop that happening, I built a small workbench and fitted some storage bins that you would often find in a garage along the back of it, to try and give myself somewhere to store all the bits and pieces. But as you can see, it's been overwhelmed and it's generally a right old mess. Okay, so here's what I'm going to be using instead. These are some modular storage devices made by a Polish company called HobbyZone, and they should allow me to store a lot more stuff in a much more compact way. Okay, so full disclosure, I've been sent some of these by Hattons, and they asked me if I would like to do a review of them. So this is a totally honest review of what I think these are like. They've sent me a couple of different types to take a look at, and I'm actually so impressed with them, I've actually gone back to the shop and ordered a load more to completely fill the workbench across the back area where I previously had all the storage bins. So let's take a look at them in detail. I think they're very useful, and if you want to get some, there is a link in the description where you can look at all of the various storage devices that they make. So these are made of 6mm MDF, and it appears to have been cut on a CNC mill. I did originally think these were laser cut, but as you can see the edges are not burnt, so these have been milled out. However, they are very accurate. They're a doddle to put together. It takes about half an hour to build them. Something I particularly like is the addition of magnets in the base, the top and the sides, so you can stack these together. Now, when I'd looked at these in the past, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to glue them together, but they actually supply magnets, so they're really easy to keep together. They're not going to fall off or do anything strange. The instructions are nice and simple. Makes it very clear how each one goes together. It's not rocket science. You'll have it put together in about half an hour, and you just need some ordinary PVA glue. So let's take a look at putting this 6-drawer unit together. So there we go, that's that one assembled. The tape is just to hold them together while the glue sets. Got to leave those for, I'd say, at least 12 hours just to fully cure, and then the tape can be peeled off. You can use masking tape, whatever tape you can get your hands on, doesn't really matter. The magnets go in these pre-drilled holes. There's 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom and 2 on either side. They're just a push fit and they work quite nicely. I'll install those once this unit has dried. Okay, so now I'll set them up on the bench. First one we got is a nice little corner unit with some drawers. Then we've got these two. The bottom one is just a basic sort of shelving unit. I can put some tools in there, pliers, files, paintbrushes, things like that. This one is for tins of paint. This particular one is geared for holding the rail match enamels or the Tamiya acrylics. Depending on what paints you have, they do different versions of this with the correct size hole for, say, the Humbrol tin lits or the Vallejo squeezy bottles, depending on what paint you want to store. Again, the magnets are really nice. Keeps everything looking nice and professional and properly located. Okay, now we just follow a basic pattern of 3 different types that I thought would be of most use to me. So these are the ones with the particularly large, deep drawers. I can put scatters and ballast, things like that in there. We've got this one. This one's a bit misleading. It looks like it's 2 huge drawers, and indeed it can be when you build it, but actually it comes with all these bits to segregate certain areas. So that's really useful for detailing packs, you know, those little bags that come in the boxes with the rolling stock, with the tail lamps and the air hoses and the extra coupling hooks. All that sort of stuff that I've never been able to store properly can go in here. Then of course we got this one, which you've seen already, and is a sort of medium size. then conveniently the workbench is the right length to just keep going with these. So there's some more. And 2 more there, and the one that I've just shown you building will finish off the corner. Something else that's very useful is they do not impact your workspace massively. You can see they're not hugely deep, and in fact these protrude less than my original plastic storage bins that I had on here. The only real criticisms I can think of are relatively minor. If we look inside, you can see this divider is quite nice and presentable in a white finish on that side, and on the other side it's just naked MDF. Arguably it's pointless to put a finish on there, but I imagine these are cut from the backboards, so it just makes sense to veneer the entire sheet and then cut what they need. Yeah, there is obviously a discrepancy in finish, but you don't notice it because you're going to have the drawers in. Next criticism, again it's relatively minor, perhaps some sort of an end stop on here would be nice to stop you from perhaps and losing a drawer. Although that's unlikely, maybe an end stop would be useful just to stop them from coming out so far, coming to say like there and stopping, and then you can rummage in here and get what you need. It's not exactly difficult for me to add something like that myself, but I thought it was worth pointing out. The clear acrylic sheets are a nice addition, just allow you to see inside the storage, so if you haven't labelled it you can get an idea for what's in there. These lend themselves perfectly to labelling. You get one of those little label printers and print out all the various labels that you perhaps would want to mark everything out. Okay, so this unit has now dried, and to install the magnets you have to be a bit careful. Each magnet has a north and south pole, and you need to make sure the magnets are the correct way around so that they're actually attracted to the neighbouring storage unit. So what I tend to do is put them in only slightly. This way, if I've got them in the wrong way around, I can pull them out with a pair of pliers, and then the same for this one here. So I'll offer that up. You should be able to hear it straight away. Yeah, so you know straight away just by the noise that that is working. That is the correct way around, so I can push the magnets in properly now. Okay, so with that completed I can now add this to the rest of the storage units. Okay, well there we are. I've got a fair bit of stuff stowed away, still quite a bit to go, but the majority of the bits and pieces are now nicely stored out of harm's way. So there's all the paints. I'd be tempted to get another one of these, I think. They do one that will fit in this area quite nicely, so I can store a bit more paint up here, rather than, at the moment I keep all the paint in an old shoebox out of the way, and it's not exactly convenient. Storage for various tools and bits and pieces, odd shaped objects. Quite a few bits and pieces have been stowed away in there, which is very handy. I need something that does paintbrushes and sort of files and things, and HobbyZone do make one that's perfect for that. So I'm contemplating using this little corner here, as it's not used very much for modelling or working on the workbench, so I can add to that certainly. Slightly lacking in tool storage at the moment, so I shall certainly make some additions in the future. And then the main thing that I was most interested in was all of the storage drawers. There's all my drill bits. If we come over here, we've got rail joiners, things relating to KD couplers, bits of track, spare snow ploughs for mostly Bachmann locomotives, spare tension lock couplings, track pins, you get the idea. Those are particularly useful. Here's another one. Figures, line side and street detailing, station detailing, signage, loco detailing packs, Mark 1 coach detailing packs, Mark 2F coach detailing packs, buffer stops, relay boxes, AWS ramps and point motors. Spare screws if I'm doing any carpentry. Woodland Scenics terrain paints, got quite a few squeezed in there. Various adhesives made by Deluxe Materials. Lens decoders for various upgrades to locomotives. And then you can see some of these are empty, just starting to fill things up. Cutting discs for the Dremel, spare scalpel blades, bits and pieces like that. There's loads of room still left in here. Spares for the Magna Rail and spare magnets and vehicle sliders. So while there's still a fair bit to add to this in terms of filling up the drawers with all the various bits and pieces around on the layout, it has swallowed a huge amount of stuff, and it's much easier to get to, and it's also nice and out of the way and is not annoying me in the process. And one of the main benefits, of course, is there's lots of empty storage here for the future. If you set up some storage and fill it immediately, it's not doing its job, because 6 months down the line you'll need more room. Okay, well, I hope you found this week's little bonus video interesting. That was my look at the HobbyZone modular organisers. I'm very impressed with them, and I'm going to be ordering a couple more just to allow me to have a little bit more tool storage. But they've certainly made a massive improvement to my workbench. Easy to put together, much easier than doing, say, something like this from scratch yourself. It would take me quite a while to build something on this sort of scale, and it wouldn't look as professional. So in that respect, they're a real time saver. Value for money is good. The 6 drawer units, you're looking at about 20 quid, and then the smaller ones, or the less complex ones I should say, sort of like 10-15 pounds. So not a massive expense given the pricing of certain other things in the hobby. As always, I will see you again in the next video, and if you want to get some of these, there's a link in the description where you can check out the full range.